I need to warn you about something. And I mean that word literally warn. Not in a fearful way, not in a way designed to make you anxious, but in the way a close friend pulls you aside before you walk into a room and says, I need you to know something before this happens, because I want you prepared. That is exactly the energy I am bringing to you today. Because what I felt when I sat with your cards this morning stopped me, made me put everything else aside, made me want to reach through this screen and speak directly to you. Because what is coming, what this person is about to do, is something you are not expecting. And I want you ready, not caught off guard, not scrambling, ready. So please, whatever else is happening around you right now, set it down for a few minutes. Be here because this reading is going to matter. Virgo, something is in motion that you cannot see yet, but it is moving. It has been moving quietly beneath the surface of everything that has looked still and unchanged from where you're standing. And the person I'm feeling in your energy, the one who has been quiet or distant or hard to read or simply not doing what you thought they might do, that person is not static. They have never been static. What looks like stillness from the outside has been anything but still on the inside. And what has been building in them, what has been gathering and accumulating and reaching a kind of internal pressure that can no longer be contained, it is about to come out in a way that surprises you, in a way that honestly may surprise even them. Let me tell you what I'm sensing. And I want to be specific because vague readings don't serve you. There is a person in your life or someone adjacent to your life, someone connected to your story in a way that may not be immediately obvious, who has been in a process, an internal process that they have not been transparent about, possibly because they did not fully understand it themselves. People do this. They go quiet not always because they have nothing to say, but because what they are feeling is so complicated, so layered, so difficult to organize into language that silence feels safer than speaking prematurely. And from the outside, from your side, that silence has probably felt like indifference or like withdrawal or like confirmation of something you feared. And I need to stop right there because I think that interpretation, the one your mind constructed to explain their silence, is not accurate. And I think somewhere underneath the story you've been telling yourself about what their quietness means, some part of you has always suspected that because you are a Virgo, and whatever else people might say about your sign, you are not someone who misreads energy. You are someone who feels things before they are confirmed. Someone whose intuition operates with a precision that often unsettles even you. And what has been sitting in your gut about this person, not the anxious interpretation, not the fear based conclusion, but the quiet, persistent, underneath everything feeling, what has that been telling you? I think it has been telling you that this is not finished, that whatever this is, it is not at its end, that there is more here, more movement, more story than what has been visible on the surface. And I think you have been talking yourself out of trusting that feeling because the evidence in front of you didn't seem to support it. Because their silence looked like absence. Because their distance looked like decision. But energy doesn't lie, Virgo. And the energy around this person right now is not the energy of someone who has moved on. It is the energy of someone who is about to move toward you in a way that neither of you has fully prepared for. Mm, Let me stay here for a moment because I want to build this out carefully. I don't want to rush past the texture of what I'm feeling because the details matter. What I keep sensing is a decision point, something this person has been standing at the edge of for longer than you might realize. And the thing about decision points, real ones, the kind that involve actual vulnerability and actual risk, is that people do not arrive at them on a linear timeline. They circle them, they approach and retreat. They convince themselves they've decided one way, live inside that decision for a while, and then find that the decision doesn't hold. That something keeps pulling them back toward the edge, toward the thing they haven't yet been brave enough to do. And what I feel is that this person has been circling this decision for a significant amount of time, approaching it in their private moments, retreating from it when fear gets louder than feeling, and arriving at it again and again with slightly less resistance each time. The resistance is almost gone now. What is about to happen, and I want to be clear that I am sensing this as something genuinely imminent, not something vague and theoretical, is a move, a real one, not a test, not a passive signal sent into the void hoping you'll decode it without them having to be explicit. An actual move, something said or done that puts something real on the table. Something that requires a response from you. Something that changes the shape of this situation in a way that cannot be quietly ignored or filed away. And Virgo, I need you to hear the next part very carefully. You need to be in your body when this happens. You need to be grounded because your first instinct, and I say this with so much care, your first instinct when something unexpected arrives from someone you care about is to immediately begin analyzing it, to immediately start running it through every possible interpretation, every possible motivation, every angle and subtext and implication. And while that quality of your mind is extraordinary in most contexts, in this particular moment, it is going to be more useful to feel first and think second, because what is coming is going to speak to something in you that lives below the analytical mind. It is going to reach something that your heart has been holding very quietly for a long time. And if you are entirely in your head when it arrives, you might miss what your body is trying to tell you about whether this is real. Trust your body first. Your mind will catch up. I want to take a moment to speak to something I feel is running underneath all of this for you, Virgo. Something that isn't about this person at all, but that is deeply relevant to how you are going to receive what's coming. And that is the question of whether you still believe in this, whether after everything, after the silence, after the uncertainty, after all the times you recalibrated your expectations and adjusted your hope and told yourself to be realistic, you still have the capacity to let something in, to let something good, something genuine, something unexpected in a beautiful way actually land. Because I feel something in your energy that I want to name gently, a guardedness, not a coldness. There is nothing cold about your energy, but a careful management of hope, a kind of internal rationing where you allow yourself to feel just enough to stay present, but not so much that you become vulnerable to being disappointed again. So I recognize that mechanism. It is extraordinarily intelligent, and it is also right now the thing most likely to cause you to receive what is coming. What is approaching you requires you to be open, not recklessly open, not naive, but genuinely, actually, truly open in a way that you may have been quietly closing down without fully realizing it. And I think this reading, this moment, right now, before the unexpected thing happens, is an opportunity to do something intentional with that, to make a choice ahead of time to meet whatever comes with your whole self rather than the carefully managed version of yourself that you show when you're protecting your heart. You deserve to receive this fully. Let yourself, does something in what I'm saying feel true to your experience right now? Does it name something you've been navigating internally? Tell me in the comments below. I read every word and I genuinely want to know what is landing for you in this reading. Now, let me go deeper into what I feel about the nature of this unexpected move because I think it matters that you understand the spirit behind it, not just the action, but the why underneath the action. Because actions without context are easy to misread. And I don't want you misreading this. What I keep sensing is courage, not the loud, dramatic kind of courage, not a grand gesture designed for an audience, the quiet, terrifying, private kind of courage that happens when someone decides that the cost of continuing to say nothing has finally exceeded the cost of saying something real. That calculation has been happening in this person, and the conclusion they are arriving at slowly, privately, through a process I genuinely believe has been more difficult for them than it appears, is that whatever happens next, whatever the outcome is, they cannot continue without you knowing the truth of what they feel. That is significant, Virgo. That is not small. People who don't care about you do not agonize over how to tell you the truth. People who have genuinely moved on do not reach a point where silence becomes unbearable. The very fact that this has been a process, that this has required courage, that this has taken time, is itself information about how much this matters to them. People are casual about things they're casual about. This person has not been casual. I want to speak now about what I feel in the energy of the days immediately following this unexpected move, because the reading does not stop at the moment of contact. What comes after is equally important, possibly more so. What I sense is a conversation, a real one, the kind that has textures and pauses and moments where both people are saying more with their silence than with their words, the kind where things get clarified that have been blurry for too long. And I keep sensing that this conversation, this actual honest exchange of what has been happening internally on both sides is going to reframe things for you. Not in a forced way, not in a we've decided to pretend the past didn't happen way, but in the specific, grounded way that comes when two people finally stop managing each other's perceptions and just speak plainly. And in that plainness, something is going to become very clear to you. Something about this person's actual interior, about what they've been carrying, about what they feel, about what they want, that you did not have full access to before. And some of what you discover is going to surprise you, not in a devastating way, in the way that truth surprises you when it turns out to be more nuanced, more human, more complicated than the simple story you had to construct in order to cope with the uncertainty. People are more afraid than they appear, more feeling than they show, more aware of their own failures than they let on. And this person, whatever they have or haven't done in this situation, is more aware of the impact of their silence, their distance, their hesitation than they have allowed you to see. That awareness is part of what is propelling this unexpected move. That awareness is part of what has finally tipped the balance from staying quiet to speaking. Now, Virgo, and I want to say this clearly because I think it is the most important practical thing in this entire reading when this happens. You do not have to respond immediately. You do not have to have an answer ready. You do not have to meet their unexpected move with an equally decisive response in the same moment. You are allowed to feel it, to sit with it, to let it land in you at whatever pace it needs to land. You are allowed to say, I hear you and I need some time with this. That is not weakness, that is wisdom. That is the behavior of someone who has learned that the most important decisions deserve the most intentional responses. Do not let urgency, theirs or your own, push you into answering before you know what you actually feel. Because what you feel, when you strip away the reaction and the history and the protective instincts and all the noise, what you feel in the quiet center of yourself about this person and this situation, that is the only compass that matters here. Not what you think you should feel, not what is logical, not what your friends tell you you deserve or don't deserve, what you actually feel in your body. In the place that has been quietly, stubbornly, persistently keeping a candle lit for this, even when you were telling it not to, that place knows. Trust it. I want to close this reading by speaking to something broader than this specific situation because I feel it is relevant for where you are in your life right now, and I think it deserves to be said. You are in a period of enormous personal growth, Virgo. I know that can be a difficult thing to hear when you're in the middle of it because growth from the inside often feels nothing like growth. It feels like confusion. It feels like things not working the way they're supposed to work. It feels like being asked to hold more uncertainty than seems fair. But what I see when I look at your energy, the larger picture, beyond this specific situation, is someone who is becoming more themselves, more clarified, more aligned with their own truth, more capable of recognizing and requiring the kind of connection that actually matches who they are. And that process, that becoming, is not separate from what is happening with this person. It is intimately connected to it because the unexpected move that is coming is not happening in a vacuum. It is happening in response to something, in response to who you are, in response to what you carry, in response to the specific, irreplaceable quality of your presence and its absence in this person's life. You moved them. You have moved them more than they knew how to tell you while it was happening, and they are only now finding the language for it, only now finding the courage. The unexpected is coming, dear Virgo, and you grounded, clear, more yourself than you have been in a long time. You are ready for it, more ready than you know. If this reading touched something real for you today, please leave a comment below. Tell me what you felt. Tell me what surprised you. Tell me what you've been waiting on. I am here. I read everything, and your experience genuinely matters to me. Please share this video if you feel someone in your life needs to hear this message. A like helps this reach the people it's meant for. And if you're not yet subscribed, I would be honored to have you here. Virgo, stay open, stay grounded, and get ready because what is coming is going to change the conversation entirely. I'll see you in the next one.